Hey everybody, welcome back. ISO-8's coming. Just got a tutorial from Scopely. It looked like it was pretty interesting. A lot of this stuff I personally had seen before through some of the playtests that I was able to look at. But I like to see that they were kind of... Now, as you can see a little bit there as this is kind of going through, I'll jump around a little bit. You'll see this as I talk anyway, because this is one of those videos that I typically don't necessarily do all that often, but I figured, you know what, this is a new game mode or new dynamic, new progression system as they call it. I want to give my opinion on it, my experience a little bit. I'm not going to go into details yet as far as, you know, what I actually experienced on the playtest because it's not technically out. And when I say my experience, I'll talk broadly about that. But I do like to see that they're, you know, they're doing these kind of, you know, walkthrough processes. So kudos to, you know, Cerebro and Scopely for trying to make sure that this is clear to people because it can get confusing and you don't want your player base to get too confused at the front end. So doing a tutorial like this up front might help some people like, okay, all right, this seems like something I can digest. I'll get into this as opposed to being, you know what, this is I don't understand how this works and just walking away. So anyway, let's just get into my thoughts and opinions.
Bring me WolverThor!
Okay, so generally speaking, and I'm just going to let this video play, I moved myself a little bit on my screen so that if you want to see something over here, you know, I'm not really blocking it too much. The general thing that I want to say about this, as far as progression systems go, I think this is something that is much more palatable than we've seen in other games. There's no speed modifier here. They give us some ability to theory craft. I do like that. I do have some concern about player burnout at the moment and the timing of this. Scopely really needs to be on point here. If the timing is not good and we don't get some other things, I think we're going to see some more people leave, which I'm worried about. But I don't want to focus on that in this video. I've done I did another video about that, and this isn't what this is about. So the part here, and I'm going to pause it for a second. So this screen, right? So this is the part where I think it's pretty palatable that people will see things where we've got kind of off to this side of my head. You've got the abilities where you're going to see here. And this is a healer. And you can see, you know, gain 5% active healing. On turn, apply regen. You know, you're getting max health. On turn, heal lowest ally for 5%. So it's kind of that, you know, general heal aspect. You're gaining more health and 10% more active healing, which is great as far as you move up those levels. So, and then you see in this general region where you've got the different type of ISO crystals that you can put in there. The way the screen's set up, it's easy to understand, right? Cerebro does a good job of walking through saying, you know, you can't upgrade to the next level until each one of these different crystals is upgraded. Now, I do find it interesting that they're starting to give signia to the different stats, it looks like here. And I think this is maybe armor. I'm not really sure what each one of these means, but that I don't know if that's something they're going to be moving towards, which that would make a lot more sense. You know, right now you look at these and it's like, I don't know what this stuff means. Like, okay, don't make health or armor or something a different symbol than something I'm already used to. That will cause confusion. But I will say, generally when I played this, it was real intuitive. It was not complicated. And Cerebro walks through kind of some of this a little bit, but I do like seeing that aspect of it. He does a good job here of the old acquire, equip, you know, unlock classes, customize, all that stuff. Okay, yeah, that is kind of generally how it works. You see some stats in here. It talks about, I'm going to pause it again. So you see these crystals that, one of the things he mentions that I was concerned about when I did the playtest was that, can you use the lower level crystals to upgrade? He did mention something about that. I hope that is actually there because it is critical. You don't want to feel like you're wasting crystals as you build them up. You want to build it up to 7 because truth is that if I know that I'm not going to have these lower crystals, or if I know that I build a level 3 ISO and then I can't use that level 3 towards my level 7 or something along those lines, then I'm just going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to wait till I can get enough for level 7, which you know, it'll delay me a little bit, but I'm much more efficient with my resources. And we all know this is a resource management game, which I don't necessarily agree with wholeheartedly. I think we're forced to make it a resource management game because unless you spend a bunch of money, you got to manage the resources to compete. Okay? So I guess in that regard it is. So I'm hoping that that's the case where you're going to see specific abilities to be able to take from level 3 to level 4, level 5, level 6, so on, all the way up to level I think it's 5. But if that's there, good job, Scopely. I'd like to see that. Now, I want to pause on this part a little bit where, you know, again, they talked about the different stats. That stuff that when we did the play test, it was across the board. It was a flat line, 10%. You get that. There's no RNG to the, oh, this crystal has 3% resist. Oh, that one has 2% resist. Oh, this one has 5% resist. So I was happy to see that the RNG wasn't in it in the playtest. I hope that stays consistent here. I expect it to stay consistent. You do also see at the bottom here, I'm blocking the brawler part of it a little bit, but there will be traits associated with each one of these. That's fine, you know, so you'll get a brawler ISO, a brawler damage ISO, a blaster damage ISO, whatever. It is what it is. There is some RNG to that. When I did the play test, it didn't bother me that much, but again, I don't know if I got a real good taste of how it would bother me playing normally, because in a playtest you have the opportunity to play around with currencies and do different things, and it's not necessarily like a real game application or experience. If it becomes another RNG fest here, it's going to wear some people down. So we'll see how that shakes out. Okay, so the next part he goes into is the campaign. My experience with the campaign here was pretty decent. It was not overly complicated. There's different energy for this specific campaign, just like you'd have for a character event. I do hope that there's a way that you can see this energy on the same screen as some of the others. That was a complaint that I think actually Tana ended up bringing up during the playtest. It's like, hey, you know, unless you actually go to the campaign, you kind of forget it's there. And you'd really want to be able to see that on your home screen. I hope that they've put that in. That is something that I could see being a quality of life issue, which I know we've got plenty of, but I hope they hit this one up front where it's actually on that front screen all the time with your regular campaign energy. But these campaign nodes, they were difficult. The ions, I think, are the name of it. That is definitely going to be an interesting farm to see how many you get of those. That was one of the things in the playtest server we could not necessarily talk about a lot or show or anything along those lines. But, you know, it is another currency that we're potentially going to have to farm. So we'll see. You know what I mean? Again, you got orbs here. There's RNG to that. We'll see how that shakes out. You know, and jumping back to that orb for a second, it's kind of like, okay, so those were all level 1. You can see over here in the upper side here, there's an RNG where it's like, okay, a rare drop is an orange, you know, level 5 of whatever that particular item is. So you can see it's going to be like red stars, where you're going to get more likely to get probably level 1 and level 2, you know, and then it's like your 4 stars probably level 3, your 6 stars probably like level 4, and your 6-star drop for red stars is just going to be like what your level 4 ISO is. And I bet level 5 ISO drop is just like your 7 red star drop or close to it. There's not as much of a stat gain, so I hope they don't be as stingy with those drop percentages. But I am expecting that. And again, I'm hoping there's not too much RNG to some of this stuff because people are getting a little burnt out on RNG. So we'll see how that aspect goes. Now, the part that's coming up here in a second is this, where you've got your different classes. And I'm going to pause it here for a second because, actually, I'll let it go. They've got them mentioned. He mentions this. This part to me, they talk about customization. I was slightly underwhelmed with the customization with some of the classes as we did the playtest. It just, I don't know. I mean, the healer seemed good. Fortifier was okay. You know, Skirmisher and Raider, I was kind of, you know, all right, you know. So we'll see. I mean, I think some people are going to have a lot of fun with some of these. Some of the folks that can actually crit. I think at one point in this video, you see, who is it? Killmonger just do like one attack. Now, who knows what the traits were for that particular Killmonger. But man, he just like nuked the whole team. And if that's something that you can actually theory craft and do, then I do see that aspect being a lot of fun. It adds a dynamic to the game that's kind of like, all right, I customize my guy so much this way, or this character, in this manner, and it helps me do these different things. Now, how's that going to apply to war and all that, and you being to see it? Okay, that I could see where that would be a little bit challenging, but it's part of learning the game a little bit. So I think those who are willing to learn this will kind of like it. I think they're going to see it be a fun game mode or progression system. If, and he's going through where you see that you get the ions from, it'll be a fun game mode progression system if the RNG is not too high. And that's critical. If the RNG is way too high, people aren't going to like it because there's already a lot of RNG in this game. If you remove some of the other RNG and make this less, I think people are going to be much more palatable for the RNG in this game mode. I keep going to game mode, this progression system. So one of the things that I want to mention is, I talked a lot about time, RNG, etc. A concept of how does this going to work for characters or teams in different game modes. For example, if I have Black Order, I want a certain way in Arena, I want them a certain way in War, I want a certain way in Raids. Does that mean I have to constantly change them? So if I want to attack an Arena, but then it changes my offense or my defense setup, and then I got to go to Raid and I got to do that and change it for the Raid ISO, but then when I'm done with Raid, I have to go back and change it to what I want for Black Order defense for Arena. And it's like, okay, but then War comes up and I got to use my Black Order, so now I've got to change it for that for the team in War, but then it changed for Arena and potentially made me lose an Arena. It's like, okay, how is that going to work based on game modes? I'm very curious. I'm guessing it's just if you change a character, that's how they are throughout the game. So that I could see being a problem for a lot of people and time for a lot of people where they're, well, I only want this character or this team. Black Bolt, for example, you just saw. Maybe you want them, and some of it might be like, look, you're never going to make it Black Bolt anything other than a striker. Okay, fine. But there might be some of those kind of in-between characters where, like a Black Panther, who, again, I know is not meta or anything like that, but maybe he's a striker in one mode. Or, they use Rocket Raccoon. They showed him right here as a fortifier. It's like, okay, well, he lives through this. But, I might want him as a fortifier here in War, but if I'm using him in Raids, maybe I want him as a striker. So do I need to jump around and change a lot? That's one of the concerns I at least want to mention at this point. Now, this part, the vulnerable, that is one of the dynamics that I did find pretty interesting in the play test, where you could get the ability to get extra attacks from the strikers on a vulnerable person. That was neat. I did like that. If there were some more crit aspects as well, okay. And that was with, I think, the Raider, then I think that'd be pretty sweet, like a higher chance to crit. These type of things, I'll be interested to see if people are able to remember. I mean, there's a lot of things to remember in the game right now with kits and counters and speeds and all these things. I do think this is going to make it a little bit harder for people. I will definitely be looking at this, as I'm sure plenty of people will be looking at this, to see, how do we best theory craft this and share our thoughts on the theory crafting behind it, so that, we can, give quick and easy information to people. It's going to be a work in progress. This is not something that's going to come out right away, because it's going to be, you need to look at it. Some people will have some right away. I don't know. Maybe we'll do one under construction like we've done before. I don't know. There's a lot here. And I think as people get used to this, they'll definitely want to see some stuff like that. I want to see some stuff like, there is that Killmonger, nuke, which was like, okay, there went the team. Granted, it's Hydra, so they're all going to res, but I don't know. So right now, I like what they got here for the progression system. I want to see the RNG deeper in game. That's what I want to see at this moment. Because, they talk about, the different teams, and I actually like this part here. And I don't know how many of you actually pause it for each one of these teams to kind of see what they had in there. Were there any tricks? I saw hand in there. I was like, hand rework? Give me a hand. And it's like, ugh. So anyway, always looking into things a little bit more than normal. But I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. But, we have experienced a lot of bugs in the game. So we'll see how it shakes out with this and avoiding any bugs. So that's pretty much it. That's what I got. I know you guys saw this, but I wanted to give you kind of my general thoughts. Again, I think it's fun to put a new progression system in if it's not too grindy and too RNG, given everything else that we've got in the game. If you do make it that much more, and you're giving me, and this is the biggest thing that I'm always going to harp on, is if you're making me play this game more and more time, and you're not reducing my time somewhere else in game, it's going to be a problem. That's for me personally. I say that also from other people I've talked to. I could see where they would also say, I don't have more time to put this stuff in game. Blitzim. I know it was all there. I know it's December, but you know what? I'll tell you what, Scopely. Just put it in the game and let us be beta. That is one thing I guarantee the entire community probably wouldn't mind being a beta tester for. Just put it in. Test it on us. I don't care. Or at least for orbs or not new characters. How about that? All blitzes, not new characters. All right. So anyway, I know that it's a side tangent, but do that, lower the time that we've got for other things in game. I think you're going to get, just like PvP, I think would be successful if you lower the things in game. If you make this where it's not a big grind and the time elsewhere is not gigantic, I think you're going to have something where people, are engaged and not too upset and not leaving the game. So that's all I got to say about this. I just wanted to do a quick hit video on it where it's kind of like my initial impressions. What am I thinking? Again, it's going to determine in game, but I liked what they did here. Kudos to Scopely for putting a tutorial like this out there to help people as much as possible. And we'll see how it shakes out, when this is officially in game. And let's keep our fingers crossed, no bugs. So appreciate you guys stopping by. If you want to come to Discord, it's linked in the description below. Hammer down on that like button, notification bell, subscription buttons. There's stuff. If you want to do that, cool. If not, no big deal. Hope this video was slightly helpful, even if it was just an opinion. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.